What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with kind of an interesting video here. I've received a number of messages from you guys basically saying, hey, did you see those auctions that ended last night on eBay with really nice graded mint-on card figures that sold for really cheap? And the answer is no, I did not. I did not see them until after the auctions ended. And I received enough messages from you guys that we had to cover it. This is pretty unbelievable, some of the final sales prices on these. And I got some thoughts as to why, but I wanted to go through them. It was like something like 25 or 30 different mint-on card figures that this one seller had. They were all graded by Collector Archive Services that sold for well below market price. And we're going to dig into them, and I'll kind of share some thoughts as we go through it. But just really interesting sales here. The first one is a 12-back A Vader. It was graded by CAS 80, 85, 85. So a very high grade unpunched Vader. A little bit of card damage in the upper left-hand corner, as you can see from the litho tear. So to me, the card score of 80 is too high. It probably should have been a 75 and an overall 75. Now, this one was not a clear blister, actually. It was actually a slightly yellow blister, but it was very faint. But this is a 12-back A Vader, and it sold for $19.75. $19.75. Now, this seller, I don't know. I've never bought from this seller before. I don't know who this seller is. I don't know anything about it. But Toy Scout 1 is the name of the seller. And I don't know. My first theory is that a lot of these items were listed at a weird, kind of in a weird location. I don't know. Because I never saw them pop up on my searches. I do searches, obviously, for the channel, not because I'm buying right now, but because I want to kind of watch items and be able to talk about them after the auction price ends. And it's a lot easier for me to kind of just gather the data from my watch list of items that have ended versus scrolling through eBay listings after listings to try and find interesting sales. So I didn't see any of these pop up in any of my searches. And I search AF, Star Wars AFA, Star Wars CAS, Star Wars UKG, vintage Star Wars mock. You know, I check all those. And a lot of those words were on here. CAS, Kenner Star Wars. Now, it didn't have vintage on there. And I usually do add vintage for a lot of my searches. So that's maybe a lesson to me that, you know, some of these items may not pop up. But so that's my first theory. Let's dig into some more items. Another one is a 21-back B. 80, 85, 90 were the subscores on this one. And this one had a clear blister. This was a 21-back B Hammerhead for $405. I mean, that price is way low. That's like 30% of market value. So that's my first theory is about, is that, you know, maybe it just didn't pop up in the right category. I don't know. The second thing I've heard from a number of you guys is that some of you have had just fine experiences buying from Toy Scout 1. Others of you have mentioned that this seller has multiple handles on eBay, and I thought it was because he had multiple locations, which is what he says on there in a lot of his video eBay descriptions. But I also have heard from some of you that have had bad experiences buying from this seller. So, you know, again, I've never bought from this seller before, and I don't want to certainly accuse this seller of anything, but a number of you did come out and say, hey, well, you know, I wouldn't buy from this seller. I've had a bad experience with him, or I've heard bad experiences about this seller. So I think that probably held the price down a little bit too, combined with the fact that we're in a down market where things are starting to decline a little bit. But $405 for a CAS 80 clear blister unpunched Hammerhead 21-back B, $405. I mean, that is a really cheap price. Here was a 21-back C Power Droid, CAS 75 were the grades on this one. Card and blister got a 75. The figure score was 85, but it's a 21-back C. I mean, that's a pretty desirable card back. It's kind of tough to find with that free secret Star Wars action figure offer. That one sold for $484. I mean, a lot of these prices are half price or less, you know. Here's a 32-back A, IG88. This one was graded CAS 85. This is the 32-back A, and I believe that's that's not the debut card. I believe the debut card is the 31A. But still, this is a very nice example. And that one sold for $510 for an 85 grade. IG88 clear blister, unpunched card with the price sticker. So clearly something was amiss in these auctions. And we're going to go through the rest of them, obviously, but I would love to hear from you guys of what, if you've had experiences buying from this seller before. All of these auctions were ended on October 12th. and they were all at auction, and they all just went extremely cheap. Here was a 32 back A red snaggletooth CAS 80 clear blister that sold for $355. So a lot of you got some really good deals here. Here was a 41 back A survival kit offer Imperial Commander that sold for $168.50. $168.50 CAS 80. The subscores were 80, 85, 85. Now it was punched, but still that price is below what this should go for ungraded in this kind of condition. I mean, I would think $300 all day long, if not more, ungraded. So to get that for $168.50 is just mind-blowing to me. Here was a 32 back B Princess Leia Bespin. It was graded CAS 80. The subscores were 80, 85, 85, and it went for $348. So, again, it's a little strange that all of these auctions went so cheap. And, if you end up buying any of these, I would love to hear whether you got them okay, whether any of the auctions were canceled. I have heard cases, not for this seller, but for other sellers who have just straight up canceled the auction because they did not like the price they got. And they said, sorry, I'm not selling it to you for that. Sorry. So I've heard that from some of you guys that, and again, it wasn't for this seller, it was for other sellers on eBay, where they basically said, I'm not willing to sell it for that. You can leave me negative feedback all you want to. I'm not going to do it. So this is a case where a 32 back B Princess Leia Bespin unpunched, CAS 80, that should easily be close to triple that list or that final sales price. Here was a 32 back A C3PO. That one was graded CAS 80. The subscores were 80, 85, 85. That sold for $310. Again, another clear blister. Just mind-blowing low prices here. I mean, these prices are like pre-2010, pre-Force Awakens prices. Just really crazy. This one actually probably a little bit closer to market value. This was the 32 back B Yoda. That one sold for $522. Again, that's really low. I mean, I'm not trying to say that's not low. It's not nearly as low as some of the others we've seen, but that one was actually an 80 plus grade clear blister, 80, 85, 90. Just amazing subscores, and it still only got 522. So again, I'm a little bit of a loss for words at some of these prices. Here was a 32 back B Lando CAS 80, 85, 85 for an overall 80. Clear blister, unpunched, and it sold for $181. I mean, that is just absolutely stunning final prices on some of these. Here was an Ugnaught. It was punched, but it was the 41 back A survival kit offer. Again, it was a clear blister, but it was straight 85s for the subscores. And that one sold for $293. Now, I have an AFA 85 for this exact card unpunched. And this is kind of the price I paid like 6 or 7 years ago. So it's pretty wild to see. Here was another pretty good deal. Again, this one's probably a little bit closer to market value, but probably still low relative to past recent sales prices. This was a 32 back A Luke Farm Boy. The subscores were 80, 85, 85, and an overall 80. You can see a little bit of wear on the left-hand side there of the card. But again, unpunched. That one sold for $1,226. I mean, I would have guessed all day long at the beginning of this auction, I would have said $1,500 to $1,800 pretty easily. So again, like the Yoda, this is probably a little bit closer to market value and not nearly as much of a steal as some of these. But here was another CAS 80 grade 41 back Lobot. That one sold for $271 and change plus shipping. All of these were based in the U.S. down in Florida. The subscores were 85, 85, 80. So again, a very, very high grade example for Lobot, yet it still sold for chump change. This was another really good deal. This was a 32 back B Luke Skywalker Bespin, unpunched for $510. And again, this was an 80 plus overall grade, 80, 85, 85. We just documented one of these that sold, and it might have been the walking photo, not the looking photo, but it was an AFA 80 that sold for like $1,400 or $1,500. So I'm just kind of at a loss as to how this could only sell for $510. I would have thought easily probably $1,000 plus. Here was a 32 back B Bosk that sold for $455. $455, and that one was straight 85 subscores. Now it was a yellow blister, so that would keep the price down a little bit, but not $455 down. I mean, I would have said probably $700 to $800 pretty easily for that item. So another good steal there. Here was a CAS 75 clear blister, 75, 85, 80 were the subscores. All of these were graded this year too. These were all recent grades. And this was the Bestman security guard. Again, the 32 back A. It was punched. That one was $170.50 plus $10 shipping. Here was Luke Skywalker X-Wing, CAS 80, 85, 80, 85, yellowed blister. Another fantastic deal, though, $568. That blister is just very faintly yellowed, as you can see there. So a really nice example that sold for a good deal. So this is a lesson, I think, for me and for everybody else watching, if you didn't see these either, that there are deals out there that fly under the radar. And that's kind of the thumbnail of this video. These flew under the radar, and a lot of you and me did not see this, did not see any of these auctions. So again, these all ended on October 12th. This one sold for $960. This was the 32 back B R2D2. The subgrades were 80, 85, 85 for an overall 80. Very tough to find a solid dome R2D2 on an Empire Strikes Back card, because I believe after the 41 back, they moved over to the sensor scope. So this is a very desirable card back, and 960 is maybe a little closer to market, but I would argue that if this was on Hakes, this probably would have sold for $1,500 plus. Next up, we've got a 41 back A Han Solo Bespin. This one also has a survival kit offer, obviously, the 41 back A. The subscores were 80, 85, 85, and another clear blister. It was punched with a little bit of wear around the card, but another very fine example for $415. So pretty amazing to see these prices in 2022. Here was a 32 back B Hoth Stormtrooper, straight 80s for the subscore. And this one also had a clear blister, and it sold for $453. And I mean, you know, if this was in a normal kind of environment, I would have guessed probably closer to 1,000. So again, that's probably more than 50% below what I've seen for recent sales prices. A 32 back A Chewbacca, 80, 85, 85 for an overall 80 plus. There's the label on that one. It had a little bit of wear up there in the upper left-hand corner. It looks like it's kind of peeling back a little bit. But a very nice example of an early Chewbacca on the ESB card. That sold for $355 plus $10 shipping. Next up, 21B on that same 41A back. This seller had a bunch of those. The subscores were 85, 85, 90 for an overall 85. I mean, that's about as good as it gets, other than the fact that it's punched versus unpunched. But that was a really nice item. Now, again, it sold for $760, but, you know, I would have said, you know, blindly, you know, if someone had given me the stats on this and that it was clear blister, I would have said over $1,000 all day long. So, again, a few of these came a little bit closer to market value, but a lot of them didn't. This one was the 32 back Star Destroyer Commander. This is one I just got back from CAS, and it had very similar subscores. 80, 85, 85. Mine was straight 85. So this is almost exactly what I have. And I paid more than this price for mine ungraded. I think I paid close to $450 or $500 for mine ungraded, and then I got it graded. This one had very similar scores. It was unpunched versus mine that's punched, and that sold for $305. So pretty jaw-dropping. Finally, I've got a 41 back A Princess Leia. This has got the red hair. And this is another one I've got at CAS right now. This one was a 75 plus grade. That one sold for $415. I mean, some high grade, loose graded Leias can approach that price in very high grade, like an AFA 90 Leia Hoth would command double that price. I mean, we just documented one on the channel that was an AFA 90 loose graded red haired Leia Hoth that sold for $900. So to get this one mint on card in a 75 plus with a clear blister for $415. Oh man. So I'm congratulations to those of you that saw these. And I mean, me personally, I'm glad I didn't see them, because I don't have the money to be spending on mint on card items right now. But I hope that some of you were able to pick up some of these fantastic deals that hit eBay on October 12th. And my mind is blown. My mind is blown. My mind doesn't get blown very much anymore with some of the eBay prices, but and it's usually on the upper end, right? My mind is blown by how high the price was. Well, in this case, my mind is blown because these prices, for the most part, were so far below market value that I'm just absolutely shocked, and that seller has to be disappointed. But again, if you guys happen to buy any of these, please leave a message or leave a comment in the comments below, letting me know if you got these okay, because they were just some really fantastic deals. And thanks for those of you that reached out to me and let me know about these, because I did not see any of these when they were up on eBay. That's all I really had for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.